Is it the right time to talk about Bitcoin? It's always the right time, and you don't want to miss on it. This is Ron Martino. What exactly is blockchain? Blockchain is basically another way of running a database. Database, like columns and records, think Excel. So, how's it different? Blockchain is a distributed database, meaning it does not reside on a particular server in a particular data center. Instead, it's shared among the nodes of a computer network. The idea is not so new. It's known as peer-to-peer. Remember Napster, then BitTorrent, which is by the way illegal in some countries for the time being, doesn't matter, it's just a technology. With Napster, you could upload any media onto the network, and other Napster members would receive it and store it locally, automatically. So, the same file would reside on thousands of home computers, and if you wanted to download it, you just typed in the file name and the Napster client would connect you to the computer of another Napster member that hosted the file in question. And that's basically the idea of a digitally distributed, decentralized data storage. The beauty of it is that it's next to impossible to block or ban or corrupt it, because millions of computers across the globe share the same data. So the guy who invented blockchain figured, hey, this method would be excellent for digital banking. In fact, we could give up traditional banking system completely. But to secure banking assets and liabilities, we need to implement some kind of integrity checking to make sure ledger database is intact. And blockchain has a great way of doing that. It's called consensus mechanism. Simply put, any particular piece of data is considered authentic if it's backed by the majority of the network. And it's sort of similar to the concept of democracy here. Democracy is what's good for the majority. So, if any dishonest node thinks, hey, I can forge some bitcoins and put them in my account, the rest of the network would reply, we don't believe you. Your data is fake, and you can go to hell. Why is it called blockchain? The name describes the manner in which data is stored. The information is packaged into blocks, which form a growing chain of records. That means each block contains information about the block previous to it, and each additional block on the chain reinforces the ones before it. This makes records unalterable, because modifying an underlying block would ruin the chain. That mechanism obviously provides another very useful feature. You can view history of all transactions that took place on the network. As data is packaged into blocks, new blocks are appended to the chain by means of a process called mining. Mining is just a metaphor used to describe computational work undertaken by nodes to verify the legitimacy of transactions. For every bit of information mined, nodes receive a reward. Reward is paid automatically, in crypto persistent to the network, meaning Bitcoin miners get Bitcoins and Ethereum miners get Ethers. And by the way, all coins that you buy at exchanges were also mined originally. Evidently, effectiveness of consensus mechanism depends on the number of miners. And that's the reason why Bitcoin, which at the moment has around 1 million miners around the world, is the most popular blockchain network. In theory, it is possible to hack blockchain, but to break the consensus mechanism, a malicious party would have to gain control over at least 50% of all mining devices, including the ones in China, which is obviously not possible. Or they could add another million miners to the network, which would also amount to 50% of hash rate, but that, provided the amount of electricity, internet, and cost involved, sounds ludicrous. I reckon some hacker could do it with a supercomputer, huh? Fact: blockchain is just a piece of code, a computer program. Bitcoin software, which is called Bitcoin Core, is open source. What does that mean? It means that anyone with basic computer science skills can clone the code and start their own blockchain, provided they find enough people willing to run nodes and mine. And that's actually the reason why there are so many different crypto coins around, and crypto forums are flooded with ICOs, initial coin offerings. If you start your own coin, it costs you nothing, so you can airdrop it, that's give it away for free, or try to sell it, if you manage to convince enough people that your coin is worth something. So, if you're up to buying Bitcoin, here's your rule number 1. Make sure it actually is Bitcoin and not Bitcoin Gold or Bitcoin SV or Bitcoin teeny weeny shriddle little bamboozle. When I first heard about Bitcoin Cash, I thought it was some Bitcoin function intended for online shopping. Turns out, it's just a completely independent coin with some fancy name. You must realize that crypto which calls itself Bitcoin something has no relation to real Bitcoin whatsoever. And you cannot send Bitcoin Gold to a Bitcoin wallet, just like you cannot transfer Canadian dollars to a US dollar account. They're both dollars, but they're different kind of dollars. Every crypto also has a short name called ticker. Bitcoin's ticker is BTC, and Ethereum's ticker is ETH. You must memorize that. How does crypto work? Think bank. What's it like these days? Basically, you visit your bank only once to register for online service. Your papers are verified, and you're supplied with a login and password or a USB token with a secret key that allows remote access to your funds from your computer or smartphone. Blockchain, in fact, provides exactly the same service, but the entire bank, with its security guards, tellers, accountants, data servers, bank vault, and document flow, is implemented programmatically and works without any human interaction. Just like in your regular bank, every blockchain user has an account number, which is called address or wallet address. Funds hosted on wallets are called coins or tokens. The wallet address is just like a checking account number, can be published or supplied to a party from whom you wish to receive payment. However, in blockchain, that's important to realize, all transactions are visible to the public. Websites that publish transaction details are called block explorers. Checking with a block explorer is about the only way to be 100% sure that another party has actually sent coins to your wallet. And this particular screenshot shows sending circa 250 million worth of Bitcoin to a couple of wallets shown on the right. Does that mean blockchain is not anonymous? Not exactly. You can view transactions, but there's no way to know who the wallet belongs to unless that person somehow reveals themselves. But if they do, all transactions involving that address will immediately become obvious. You can have multiple addresses though, and there's no implicit way to link them to you. How do you create a Bitcoin wallet? This is actually where the fun begins. You do need a private key to access blockchain, just like you need one to access regular online banking services. However, in case of blockchain, this key is generated by you. That's right, and there's no one around to verify your identity. A Bitcoin wallet private key is simply a 32-byte integer, which fully identifies you as wallet owner. So, are you telling me the keys to someone's Bitcoin wallet worth billions is just some number and there's no additional authorization procedure involved? How large is that number? And what if someone just guesses it? Well, maybe you should try it, but 32 bytes is a numeral roughly equivalent to the number of atoms in the observable universe. And there's this project called Large Bitcoin Collider. Instead of new physics, this one is hunting private keys, essentially attempting to prove that a large random number can be found by brute force. You can find more information on their webpage, the link is in the description. So, how do you generate your private key? Well, you're free to use whatever method that yields a 256-bit number. You could run a script, you could make it up, or you could just toss a coin 256 times to come up with a 256-bit binary number, which is the same as 32 bytes. Once you have your Bitcoin private key, you can derive your public wallet address from it. That's right, the two are linked with a mathematical formula. And the next thing you must do is find a safe place to keep your private key, because there is no way to access your coins if you lose it, or recover them if it's stolen. You really don't want to be that sad person who got locked out of their old Bitcoin wallet, now worth millions. Of course, nobody generates Bitcoin keys manually these days. There's an abundance of software that can do it for you. However, in that case, no one can, in fact, guarantee that your private code is secure, You can only bank on the honesty of the person who wrote the wallet application. Blah 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 honesty. Gets a bit tricky if we're talking billions. Think of the things you could do with that money. Choose any charity, give to the poor. So, if you want to be 100% safe, you must familiarize yourself with procedure of creating your private key. The most secure way of doing it is running a JavaScript on an offline computer. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the description. We're basically talking about an HTML file that you can open in your browser. The script has a simple wizard that will guide you through the creation process. And when you're done, you just print your private key and wallet address on a sheet of paper and put it in a safe place. That's called offline or paper wallet. And like I said, you only need your wallet address to make a deposit. So, unless you plan to spend Bitcoin, you don't need to expose your private key to anyone. Is there an easier way? Yes, there is. It's hardware wallet, also known as cold wallet. A hardware wallet is typically a USB or a Wi-Fi device which stores the private key but does not expose it to the device it's connected to. When you need to make a transaction, your wallet application sends it to the hardware wallet, which signs it with your private key and sends it back to the computer to be posted online and mined into the next block. An important feature of a hardware wallet is hardware button that you must press to authorize the transaction. That's the way to guarantee a hacker won't exploit your wallet by remotely logging into your computer. And in my opinion, it's a pretty good way to keep your private key safe. However, it's not as safe as paper wallet. And if you're up to buying a cold wallet, there's a simple rule you must follow. Never buy it on sites like eBay. Only buy it directly from the manufacturer. A hacker can easily modify wallet firmware and sell it to you, which will obviously compromise your private keys. Another place where your crypto could really be compromised is crypto exchange. The reason people lose their coins at exchanges so often is because exchanges are so much easier to hack than blockchain. So, another rule you must remember is: do not keep your crypto at exchanges. Only trade at exchanges. Once your buy or sell order is filled, withdraw to your blockchain wallet and check the result with the Block Explorer. And one more thing. You must buy the real stuff. What does that mean? Many financial institutions, in fact, offer derivatives instead of actual crypto. A derivative is a kind of a virtual asset tied to the real one by the word of honor of its issuer. Just to mind you, it's billions, make people go crazy, who knows what might happen. So, if you bought crypto and instead of providing a link to transaction in a Block Explorer, you are given a link to the company's website displaying your balance, chances are you bought a derivative. If you followed me carefully, you should have come up with a question. I stated that private key and wallet address are linked with a public mathematical formula. I also mentioned that wallet address can be revealed to anyone and private key must be kept secret. So, if there's a formula that translates key to address, there must be a reverse formula which does the opposite. And if that's the case, we can gain access to funds of any Bitcoin wallet by its address, which is public. Well, in fact, there isn't a reverse formula. At least no one has come up with one so far. And if it did exist, that would automatically mean end of Bitcoin era, because all wallets would be hacked instantly. What we're dealing with here is the so-called one-way function, which in computer science is defined as formula that is easy to compute, but impossible to invert. And this is a truly stunning mathematical phenomenon that guarantees safety of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and also inflames passions and minds of people looking for easy money. Amazingly, the one-way function algorithm is quite simple. It's based on the so-called factorization problem. Imagine you have two prime numbers. Prime numbers are whole numbers whose only factors are 1 and itself, like 3, 7, 11, 17, 131, and so on. Let us pick two random primes, like 11 and 17. Now let us multiply them. The result is 187. Now, imagine you were only given the product of these numbers, and you don't know what they are. Would it be easy to find them? Naturally, You can do it by dividing the number in question by all primes which fall in a range of 1 to 187. And our answer is 11 and 17. Mind you, factorization problem has only one correct answer. There are no other prime numbers other than 11 and 17 whose product equals 187. Now it gets interesting. Imagine that the product of another two primes is 68,513, and the primes themselves are not known. Is this problem easy to solve? I don't think so. To find the answer, you'd probably need a computer program that iterates through all known primes. The answer is 131 and 523, by the way. Amazingly, as of 2022, iterating through all possible variants is the only way to solve the problem. There isn't a mathematical formula that does it. Now, imagine the primes are really large, like 70 digits each. It's still easy to multiply them. You could do it on a sheet of paper. But there's no way to derive the primes from their product, and iterating will take forever. That's what we call a one-way function. The formula used to link Bitcoin private key with wallet address is a bit more tricky, but the idea is the same. You know, there are people who are like, hey, everything can be hacked. Well, be my guest. If you're a great enough mathematician and know how to reverse the Bitcoin private key formula, you can have all the money in the world, unless it's already in your jump bag. Last but not least, I often hear people say, why should I buy crypto? Whoever said it wasn't another Ponzi scheme? So, while less than 1% of the world's population owns cryptocurrency and only 4% of Americans do, let them think it's a Ponzi scheme. Meanwhile, I'm gonna add Bitcoin and Ethereum to my retirement plan. I'd love to hear what you think. Please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to share and subscribe. This was Ron Martino, and I wish you a very fine day.